Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here. Hope you had a pleasant day. My name is Meti Basiri. I'm the co-founder at Applyboard. Uh, for the folks that might not know what's Applyboard, myself and my brothers came to Canada as international students about a decade ago. And going and applying for any schools and following the process was extremely difficult and inefficient for three of us back in 2010. So kind of after the school, we decided that we need to solve this issue for the rest of the students planning to come to Canada or rest of the world for their study abroad journey. And that's kind of led to creation of Applyboard. So since the day that we started Applyboard, we are now having almost to 1,400 employees around 30 plus countries. It's about 6.5 years that Applyboard has been founded. We've been named by the Deloitte, surely that everyone knows that, by the second fastest growing company in Canada. We've been ranked by startups, by LinkedIn, the third startups to work for in Canada, and a few other things. Definitely that would have not been possible with raising some capitals. We have raised to the date about $600 million capital. We were the second unicorn in Canada. For the folks that might not know what unicorn means, any private company that worth over $1 billion will be named unicorn. In Canada, we were the second one that was unicorn back in 2020. That's a little bit more about Applyboard, but what really Applyboard is an AI platform solution for any student that wishes to go abroad. They can use Applyboard platform, but the students are not the only per se people that uses Applyboard. Our partner schools like AKA universities, colleges, and recruitment partners, AKA those traditional agencies that consult the students or their counselors talk with the students, are all in our ecosystem and all are on our platform that can support the student. Really, the easiest way for anyone think of what Applyboard is, imagine you want to go up travel from Turkey to, I don't know, let's say United Kingdom. You don't go one by one to every air travel site to see what the tickets from, for example, Turkish Airlines going to be or British Airways going to be. You pretty much most likely go to a platform that can tell you what are your options. Going abroad is not as simple as booking a travel, but I want you to kind of understand the similarity of you thinking of going abroad is a 12-month journey. You make a huge investment. So what success comes out of it and what option you choose is extremely important. So this is kind of our impact. I'm going to spend slightly more time on how we're using, right, really the AI and the big data and Applyboard. But this is kind of our impact. We have helped over 200,000 students. We provided over $50 million scholarship. It's working with our partner schools closely. We work with 1,500 schools from Canadian schools, University of Colleges, technically, US, UK, and Australia. And as mentioned, we do work with recruitment partners, and we have amazing staff all around the world. So really the role of AI. So think about it now. The students want to go abroad. A lot of us might know what we want to do. A lot of us don't know what we want to do. So, and success is a very different meaning to someone like myself and another colleague of myself. What we think as a success, it's not necessarily just enrolling in the top 100 universities or schools in the world. Maybe success for me is like attending a trade. So the role of AI and big data can really much come in that you as a student can complete the profile, and based on the analytics and the AI, we would be able to say, here's where you can be more successful, whether from application your journey, whether from getting the higher chance of visa or enrollment or success. So when you really think about it, usually a student spend about 50 to 100K for their study abroad decision. Is one of actually most expensive investment anyone does in their life is education. After house it's pretty much education for most of us. So when you really think about it, what makes us successful is extremely important. So when we're talking about we assist 200,000 students, we're talking close to 500,000 applications that we have processed. When you process 500,000 application, you access the type of data and success, and including the external data that we get from government, our partner schools, we would be able to guide the students with AI and big data. Says here's where you would be able to get a higher chance of enrolling at the school or higher chance of acceptance there, and whatever that success means to you. So we every day pretty much right now use the AI from the productivity, from like enrollment, supporting the schools. And it's a huge problem. As another example that I can give you folks, let's say universities or colleges have a huge challenges per se with retention most of the time. And also, let's say it's July, how many students are we gonna have starting, let's say September? Reasoning for it, if you're in international industry, it's not gonna be an easy estimate because visa is a big drop for many students going abroad because different countries have a different visa rate. Sometimes visa processing is challenged. Sometimes the students drop. So university needs to hire professors. University needs to hire faculty. They wouldn't exactly know how many students are they estimating. With the help of AI and big data, you would be able to actually tell them with 98% accuracy, here's what you're estimating in each program. So I'm trying to speak more of the AI rather than how the Applyboard, like really the application journey works. So really like at Applyboard, the AI and big data, this is where we're using it every single day. And a student or a recruitment partner gets a significant advantage out of this. So what now benefits it? Now we talked about AI, we talked about big data. How is the students getting benefit? One is better matching. Better matching means better success for the students. Means if you were doubting whether you should go to a college or a university, or whether you were doubting like you go to a trade, now you have a better chance on going where you have a better match. So means more success. The other thing is, as a result of that, with the industry, about only 65 to 70% of the students, when they apply for a school, they get acceptance letter. Through Applyboard, our students, at least they get 95% acceptance letter. Again, this is based on the estimation that we're doing and based on the big data and AI that we have. We can say, yeah, you're not going to be qualified for this because our data shows a Turkish student that is 32 years applying for this university at the master degree. Most of our students didn't get acceptance letter. So your chance is low. And to just kind of blow everyone's mind, for an student, it's part of the word, go to a schools and program, it's over 1 billion, 1 billion combination. And that you can get in, you don't get in. So human cannot like simply anticipate that. And the other thing is it leads to higher visa approval. And we know a lot of countries, like getting the visa, the student has gone and spent 6-7 months of their journey. And now imagine they go apply for their visa and they don't get visa. And obviously this is more important when the countries are per se have a lower chance of visa for the countries of destinations that they're applying. So it's extremely important. So they choose the right program, choose the right school, province, and where they need to go. Why? Because it led them to be more successful and they don't need to take that stress. So better matching, I kind of speak about it with knowing your background, knowing what we can match you to the better schools, we can match you and speed up your application, that at the end, schools are happy because that's the type of application they want to receive. The students are happy because you have a higher chance of acceptance. The only possibility and scalability to AI and machine learning technology is that what we can get to 95%. We're aiming to be able to get to 98+%. But one of the challenge with the per se, the big data and machine learning is when you think of going abroad, it's not one country. Right now, Applyboard is operating like we're receiving students from 180 countries. So every single country has a different education system, whether you're high school, just think of Turkey. Compare Turkey to Hungary. Their education system is different. It's very day and night. So it's extremely different scenarios when it comes to this. And that's why we would be able to make that like increase the students' chance of acceptance that they're by using the machine learning and AI. And this is the last point. This is as example. When you really look at it, this is just a Canada study permit approval. So visa approval in Canada has reduced year by year. More students applying, less students getting visa. From 2018 as example, almost 7 out of 10 students applied for their visa, got their visa. In 2020, almost 55 students got their visa, and 2021 is back to 60. So 6 out of 10. Through Applyboard, a student almost out of 10, 8.5 students get visa. Why? Because we know what are the type of the students that embassy wouldn't support per se with their journey, and they get refused. So we try to support those students, provide them the right program, and provide them better visibility. That, as example, if you go a study from Ontario versus BC, BC has tend to have more. If you study 2 years diploma versus 4 years bachelor degree, you're gonna have a higher visa chance of visa. That is exactly the use of it, and that's why like a student using Applyboard has almost 25% higher chance of visa, and a student's not using Applyboard just because of that. That's kind of like what I kind of shows like the difference, and I'll pass it to you, Karen, if anyone has any question or anything. I hope that I could like elaborate how we use it and how you can. And this is honestly, this is a fraction of, we're just a 6.5 years old company. What we're gonna use the AI and how we're going to use it in the next 50 years, it's going to be extremely different, and technology is evolving very fast.
What I like about digitalization is actually that we're making the human experience that we had in the past at a larger scale. When I was going to university, I talked to people. I asked how I was admitted, what results should I get in the exam, what I should focus on, and everything. And now you're doing it at a scale of 200,000 people, I believe. Do you believe that you're changing the world?
I do definitely believe we're changing the world, and the reason is, I'll give you an example. We sat down with the schools that they had 60 students international, okay? Mm-hmm. We sat down with them, says, here's what the students are desiring, and here's what you need to do. After months of working with that school, we made the change. Today, they're sitting at 4,000 enrollments international. But through that partnership, we put millions of dollars scholarship back in the pocket of the students. We made education more accessible. And I honestly don't think like in order to change the world, you need to change the world. You need to change one by one lives. And that's how you're going to end up changing the world. Like we literally at Applyboard think education is right. Education changed my life. I came from Iran 10 years back. If I didn't come to Canada as a student, I can guarantee my life, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be able to have this discussion. So education is extremely important. So what Applyboard is really doing is supporting the students through this journey, but at the time thinking how we can make it more affordable, how we can make it more successful. Like we have a similar background. Education is not about just being engineering or doctor anymore. Education is not about just going to the top 5 universities anymore. We need all type of profession. And we have amazing people that they're gonna choose differently. You might like to study art, someone else likes to study graphic design. Not everyone needs to be engineer or doctor, but how can we know what is the student's wants and what is it they're desiring and how we can support them to that desire? That's something. So I truly believe like we're changing the world. And I'm very optimistic for the next 50 years at Applyboard, we're going to not only help support millions of lives, but we're also going to continue supporting the students through their journeys.
Do you help the young people with something like this? In Turkey, I had this experience with a new generation university. We were having the fashion faculties within the universities, and everybody wanted to be a stylist. But then one university came out and they said, they asked the industry, what do you need? And they said, we have a lot of designers, but we don't have the sufficient people to do the mock-ups and everything like that. So we don't have enough people on the production. So they started to educate, train people in that area, and they could find jobs. The designers were having hard times, but they could do it. So this collaboration with between the industry and the university made a great result. Do you also help in producing knowledge in that area?
Less of today. We start because like we're still pretty young company. We start tracking our students where they're getting successful. We're getting access to the data as like, for example, 60% of these programs getting successful at jobs. So much less than what we do in the journey. Again, the complexity of it, so it's very easy to put for a slide to get there, but it's not as easy to explain how much of work it goes to make this happen. Because the complexity is like, as I mentioned, it's a billion. So I wish that we could do more, not today. But what we know is the supply and demand. There are more students want to do project management, less the schools offer it. Can we go to a schools, tell them, bring more project management courses? That we do actively today.
Mm-hmm. And when we had the session with Rector Institute, actually there was one concern about retaining the talent within the country. So they had a focus on that. What's your vision about that, about talent and the distribution of talent?
That's a great. So again, less involvement as of today in terms of like when it becomes to career planning and that. But we do actually see in the next 3.5, 4 years, we would be able to do support the students after their graduation through like that. And then like there is a lot. Like think of it as a student, you need accommodation, you need service to book your airport from like anything. You're just packing your life going from one country to the other country. If you plan to stay in that country, getting your immigration, everything you need support and help. So we're going one at a time, but primary 95% of our focus today is to the application and the student journey. How we can put you in the right path to be more successful, and what that success means to you. We want to make sure that we address that.
Okay. So last but not least, there's a remark from me when I had the opportunity to listen to Malcolm Gladwell in the US about this matching part. It was about the successful principle that combined the right student with the right teacher, so they would fit and the result would be great. And you're doing this with AI. Can you tell some more on this matching part and how it makes you happy? 95% is a good score, actually.
Yeah, so think of it this, for example, if I want to simply explain that as I'm a student from Iran. In Iran, at high school, your grade is out of 20 as example. But in Canada, as example, 20 doesn't mean anything. 20 means nothing. So that translates to another score that let's say my score was like 94% as example. Now, 94% for University of Waterloo is low as example. But for University of Wilfrid Laurier, you're in the highest score. Now there is other categories. Now let's say they care about your math score, they care about your physics score, and now they care about what is your English test score, like whether you took the IELTS, you took TOEFL, how much of gaps a student has, how much of years of, for example, did you go to a study 2 years diploma? Now you're doing the 4 years bachelor degree. So these are the criteria that kind of it becomes as an input, and the output becomes like, yeah, you perhaps have a better chance of acceptance related to Laurier at Bachelor of Business as example than like McMaster as a Bachelor of Business. Why? Because how they look at your profile is different. The other thing then we track how many of Iranian students with this profile has applied for Laurier and how many of them became successful versus how many of them applied for Saskatchewan University, how many of them. That result become as another input there. So the more students apply through our platform, the better outcomes we have. That's why our acceptance rate continue to going higher. The challenge is like, let's say we launched United Kingdom last year. Now we're brand new United Kingdom. We cannot start from 95 because the machine learning hasn't been learned enough about the application and journey it goes through it. That's why, for example, when we go to a country, let's take a Lebanon as example, if there is less application comes from that country, you have a less chance of acceptance because the machine hasn't recognized and it didn't have enough input. I think the AI and machine learning, the best thing is you can train them to do better than human does, but it needs some input to be able to be trained. So I don't know if I kind of answer your question
Yes.
with how it really matters.
Yes, actually, we had a very good insight in one important aspect of AI implementation. And now we're going to another one about diseases. And we'll be joining you on using AI for augmented infectious disease intelligence. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
See you again.